You were born into a family worth more money than the GDP of most countries on Earth. Your father didn't inherit that money. He built it line by line of code, deal by deal, decision by decision, starting from a dorm room at Harvard. By the time you took your first steps, Microsoft Windows was already running on half the computers on the planet. You didn't grow up famous. You grew up quietly wealthy, which is an entirely different and more complicated thing. Your home is called Xanadu 20, a 66,000-square-foot mansion built into a hillside overlooking Lake Washington. It has a trampoline room, a private library with 20 books, a 60-foot swimming pool, and walls that display digital art that changes based on who is in the room. Other kids came over for playdates and stood at the entrance with their mouths open. You had stopped noticing it years ago. Your father is one of the richest men alive, and he gave you a strict allowance of $5 a week. He made you fly coach on commercial flights until you were a teenager. Not because he couldn't afford private, because he believed it mattered. No smartphones until age 13. Limited screen time. Chores like every other kid. Your father was building something in you whether you wanted it or not. You attended a private school in Seattle, where classmates were also children of tech executives and old money families. Everyone knew your last name. But unlike the president's son or a royal heir, nobody feared you. They just quietly calculated what knowing you might be worth. You learned early to watch who wanted to be your friend and who wanted to be near your last name. The difference was always visible if you looked carefully enough. Your father announced he would give away 99% of his wealth to charity. Not to you. Not to your siblings. To the world. You found out the same way everyone else did. From the news, and the strangest part, you weren't angry. You were proud. And that pride confused you more than anger ever could have. By age 12 you had visited malaria clinics in Africa, vaccination programs in India, and poverty relief projects in Bangladesh. While other kids spent summers at camps and amusement parks, you spent them understanding why children die from diseases that cost 50 cents to prevent. It gave you a perspective that no classroom ever could. And it also made it impossible to ever fully relate to anyone your age. In 2021, your parents announced their divorce after 27 years of marriage. Not a quiet private separation. A worldwide headline. Analyzed, debated, dissected by billions of people who had never met your family. The family that had stood beside the greatest wealth transfer in human history quietly came apart. And you had to process that grief while the whole world watched. People assumed growing up Gates meant growing up defined. Clear path, clear purpose, clear identity. But identity doesn't work like inheritance. You can receive a fortune. You cannot receive a self. At 17 you sit in your 2,000 book library and realize you have read less than 100 of them. And that somehow feels like a metaphor for everything. Your father changed the world twice, once with technology and once with philanthropy. Most people don't manage it once. Every career path you consider comes with the same invisible question hanging above it, but is it enough? Not enough for the world. Enough for him. The standard was set before you were old enough to choose anything. People imagine unlimited wealth feels like freedom. It doesn't. It feels like responsibility with no off switch. Every purchase you make is a moral question. Every choice is measured against what that money could have done elsewhere. You cannot simply enjoy things. Your father made sure of that, not cruelly but completely. Your father reads 50 books a year. At dinner he wants to discuss what you have been reading. Not what show you have been watching. What you have been reading. Those conversations were frustrating at 16. At 22 you realize they were the greatest education you ever received. He never told you what to become. He just made sure you became someone capable of becoming anything. In 2020 your father became the center of the biggest conspiracy theories the internet had ever produced. People who had never met your father were absolutely certain they knew exactly who he was. What he wanted. What he was planning. And you who ate breakfast with him every morning had to watch strangers define him with more certainty than you ever felt. At 20 you decide to study something your father didn't study, in a field he didn't build, solving problems he hasn't solved yet. Not to reject him, to find yourself. There is a difference, and learning that difference is the work of your entire 20s. You stop trying to explain your father to people. You stop trying to defend him. You simply let him be who he is while you figure out who you are. One afternoon you visit your father at his office. He is on the phone with someone in sub-Saharan Africa about a malaria vaccine. He doesn't notice you come in. He is completely absorbed, not in power, not in money, just in the problem in front of him. And in that moment you see him, not the billionaire, not the conspiracy theory, not the Microsoft founder, just a person trying to fix something broke. You are Bill Gates' son. You were born into more privilege than 99.9% of humanity will ever know. You grew up with a $5 allowance in a 66,000 square foot house. That contradiction is your entire childhood in one sentence. You carry a name that is synonymous with genius, with giving, with changing the world, and the pressure of that is something no trust fund can pay for therapy to fix. Every path forward has been walked by someone richer, smarter, or more impactful, and that person shares your last name. Maybe you change the world in a different way. Maybe you live quietly and that becomes its own kind of statement. Either way, the first line of every article ever written about you already exists. And it starts with someone else's name. This is your world. And in this world, you are the most prepared and least certain person in any room you walk into.